welcome to episode 18 of my POA podcast, Black Hand and Beyond. Thanks for joining us tonight on another Tuesday night. Last night, of course, or last week, we weren't live because of the National Congress, what we used to call the International Show. It's been going since 1959, and I had the pleasure to attend again as just a spectator this year. That's what I've done the last so many years, but I have shown in a lot of them. I believe this year was my 20th. It was either 20 or 21st national show that I've attended, so I always enjoy attending that show. We got a little bit of a late start tonight, so hopefully we got people watching and that'll come on and make some comments. We had some problems with some pictures tonight, so I have some really good pictures that didn't make it on, but I do have some good pictures too. There's Tracy Keene. She's always the first one on usually. Hi, Kent. I had a good time visiting with my friend Tracy at the National Show. We don't see each other very often, but when we do, sometimes we don't get to talk. This year we got to talk a lot, maybe not as much as we'd like to, but we did get to catch up a little bit. So, hi Kent, that says Facebook user on my end, so I don't know who that is, but thanks for watching tonight. I'll let some more people get on. Again, I'm sorry that we're a little late, but I always say 6:30-ish, so we're pretty close. I had a lot of pictures of the halter winners, and again, some of them are not going to be on here, and I had a picture of the costume winner that was pretty cool that someone sent me, and it didn't get on here either. I tried it twice. That's why I'm late, because we tried to send them again, and it just resent the pictures that were already on. So for some reason, about half of them didn't make it. So Nikki, it's Nikki Reinhold. Okay, good. Thanks, Nikki, for watching. So like I say, I don't know what anniversary of show it was. Tracy might pull the number out, but since 1959, the POAC hasn't missed the national show, and they put on another great one again this year. I know last year with COVID and stuff like that, and the economy and things that might have been down, but this year seemed like a pretty strong show to me. Thanks to Cindy Hoffman for all the work she did, and her crew, and everybody else, the board of directors and all the volunteers and people that were helping with the show. It sure makes it fun to attend when you just sit there and you don't have to open a gate, or you don't have to get a pony ready or anything. It's kind of enjoyable. It's like watching TV. You just sit there and watch the show, and from the stands it looked like it went pretty well. There was some new stuff this year and some stuff that hadn't been done in a long time, like the grand entry, and of course the Hall of Fame, and some of the things like that, the Family of the Year, which we'll talk about that stuff towards the end of the show. They put that with the show this year because of the convention being canceled, so that was kind of interesting. There was some fun stuff I seen during the classes for kids and stuff. It just kind of made it enjoyable and fun. So crazy trying to watch and show. Yeah, Tracy was showing. She was up there with her hat on, waiting to show. So she was sitting next to me when one of her homebreds won, and I still have bruises on my left leg where she was jumping up and down, punching me. So we're gonna get into some pictures tonight, and the first one is one of the championship trophies, and I just thought that was a cool picture. It represents the show well. Some really nice champion trophies, and we're gonna, like I say, some of the we're gonna start out in the halter. That was the first day. I don't have any driving, and of course I wasn't there for the whole show, so I didn't get to see all of the classes. A lot of times when I was raising them and showing, of course I'd show in halter, and when I was on the board of directors I'd be there a couple days early, so by the time the show started a lot of the directors are wore out, because sometimes we'd have 2 days of meetings before the show even got started. So a lot of us would leave like right after halter, but I was able to stay Saturday, all day Sunday, and all day Monday, and we left Tuesday morning. So I got to see 3 full days, and that was fun to watch some pleasure and some different classes and even showmanship and stuff. So this was the youth stallion, Where's My Cape, and he also became the reserve grand champion stallion. He was the 2-year-old winner and the junior winner, and Gabrielle Olson is holding him here, and he's owned by Alyssa Henning of Wisconsin, West Salem. So thanks, Ian, for saying that. Ian Campbell, we'll be talking about that in a little towards the end of the show. We'll be talking about the Hall of Fame and stuff. One day of meetings and one day of measuring. That's right, Tracy. I remember this kind of brings up some topics that are going on now, and I ain't going to talk about some of the politics and stuff, but when I became a director, I didn't have a lot of experience as a state inspector, but I did measure when I was a kid. I measured at a lot of shows, and I wasn't even 18. Later, some directors put their fingers in their ears when I said that because they didn't want to hear that. But of course, I grew up in POAs, and I was always around them. So my first national show that I was a director, I tried to measure almost everyone I could. I think I measured over 200 horses. Ken Steele got up in a meeting and made everybody clap, which he didn't have to make them. Everybody gave me a round of applause for measuring so much at my first national show, but I was trying to prove a point. And it was also good practice. And I measured at a lot of sales and futurities, and I always enjoyed it. Of course, it was sometimes a thankless job. Sometimes people would yell at you and stuff when you had to measure one out, and that'll happen every once in a while. That's just what we're in. You know, we're in a breed with limits, so sometimes some are going to go over the limit. But it still was an enjoyable job because you got firsthand to look at every single POA that came in, basically, even if they had to show you their permanent height card. So this is Where's My Cape. He's a product from Iowa. I believe I've got superpowers. I might have that wrong, but he's from the long lineage there of our Impulsive Superman. Jess Drish is doing a great job with all that bloodline. She knows what she's got. She's got a good bloodline there, and she's keeping it going. So this is a young stallion, 2-year-old. Here he is in the class, and this would have been junior in reserve here. So that's Mark Menke showing the yearling. And let's see if I can get his name. I don't know it right off the top of my head. Tracy might beat me to it, but I believe it's Diamonds All the Rage, I think is who it is. And I think that's owned by Eva Dahl. So that's your junior and reserve champion. Here's your small stallion winner, a T&E POA. That's homebred with Erin Brown there. Her mom, Jamie, and Erin worked really hard on their program in Texas. And let's see what his full name is here. T&E, he's Dignified is his name. And he won the small stallions. So here we go for, this would have been for Grand and Reserve. So the only horse I haven't mentioned so far is the one on the far right in the background there, the Snowcap. And of course that became your Grand Champion Stallion. And that's RY Sudden Equity. And he's been at a lot of national shows, and he was shown by his owner, Pam Aid. And this year he made it through to Grand Champion. There was some stiff competition there. And the judges were kind of judging a little smoother type POA there for a while, it seemed like. Of course, 3 judges, and the people sitting at the show, we all know the 3 judges weren't seeing it eye to eye there for a while. Sometimes they'd pick the first couple, but then they'd get, if it was a big class, they were pulling a lot off the rail, especially in the performance classes, but even in halter. So that's a pretty nice lineup there. In the front, you have the senior and reserve, and then in the back, you have your junior and reserve. RY Sudden Equity went Grand Champion, of course, the Snowcap, and then the one standing straight behind him went Reserve Grand, and that's Where's My Cape. And there he is again. And there he is again. I took some of these pictures, like I took this one just with my phone. Some of these pictures were sent to me. This is the Weanling filly winner, I believe, and that's an RY. That's Jordan Gardner. Of course, they bred Mike and Jordan, and the Gardner family has been breeding some great ones for a long time. Going back to the stallion that won, I had about 4 pictures of him because Pam and him also won Western Pleasure 45 and over, and I had a very good picture of that with a big group, and hopefully one of them's in there, but I had one with him getting his ribbon. And he looked really nice in that picture. Pam looked good. It was a good still shot of a Western Pleasure scene. But him winning Grand this year, makes Gardner's third decade that they've bred for a grand champion. So they had one in 2000, a couple in the 2000s they had one, and then in the tens, as you'd call it, the teens, they had two actually, and now in the 20s they already have one in the second year of the 20s. So now they got to wait 8 or 9 years to the next decade. But with Jordan being a young man and breeding like he is, he may breed for a couple more decades of grand. So this is a cool shot here that I took. I thought the yearling filly class was exceptional. I thought it was a very tough class. It's right there, Danielle Kimmery, Danielle Kruger. She grew up, famous POA person. She's right in the middle of the shot. And then we have the girl next door, Seehafers, on the left. And I think that's Sean from Wisconsin, or from California, on the right. And then of course the filly that won it is in the front of that first line. And some of them are missing in this shot, but it was a pretty big class, and I thought it was a deep pen of really nice fillies. That's why I took this panoramic shot. This is Tracy's sister, Katie, showing one that they bought from Jess Drish. I believe it's I've Got Girl Powers is her name, and I think I've Got Super Powers daughter. And I know Tracy bought this for a future broodmare, but Katie just did a project with her and showed her at the show, and she's a young yearling filly. This is the girl next door, owned by the Seehafers of Wisconsin. She's by the Impulsive Kid. And we'll go back there. There's Tommy in the background trying to set up his loud-colored filly. That'd be a CHR. I don't know her name, but she's got a cool name. I just can't remember it. She's a beautiful marked filly. It was funny. She was in the most colorful class, and one of the show dads and some friends of mine were there for the later ceremonies. And they both asked me, who would you pick in this class? And I said, well, this is a colorful class. It's really an opinion class. I said, but that one right down there, and I pointed at Tommy's. I said, that's probably the one I'd pick in color. But of course, this is the yearling filly class here. I hope people are joining us tonight. I think we have, I don't know how many we got watching right now, but we've had quite a few comments. So this is Sean Weiss from California. Her filly, I believe she's an Iowa bred filly. She likes that bloodline, the Doc's rough and zip. I think that's how this one is bred. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Again, this is Danielle's yearling filly. My new friend Terry Thorson from Iowa. I got to meet him. I've talked to him online and stuff, and he's a follower of this show. And he raised this filly, and I got to sit next to him and Bob Roseland. Bob and Corey Damon and some people, usually them two for sure, make the trek every year to watch Halter, and they do that marathon round trip where they come up from Iowa and then watch Halter and then head home. And they drug Terry with them this year, but this is his Dirty Dealer filly, I believe, from Terry's program. Here's the filly that ended up winning the class, and she also won, I believe she won In Hand Trail. This is Tracy Keene's filly that won the Futurity last year. Of course, Tracy sold her, but this is TC Touched by a Weedo. That's not a very good picture over there. I didn't take that picture. I took this picture. Again, I'm not Ronnie Martin or anybody. I'm not a photographer, but I've been around horses enough. I try to. I didn't get up to take some of these pictures. I stayed in a chair, but with the zoom, Tracy was laughing because she really liked my zoom on my camera. But when this filly won the class, Tracy was sitting right next to me, and her sister did pretty good in the class too with their future broodmare. So, yep, Danielle Kruger's Kimmery's filly is out of a Dutch mare. That's right. She is. I think I've seen pictures of a full sibling on Terry's phone. So there's another win picture. Of course, that's Lindsay Peaton with Tracy, the breeder of that filly. And this is like the great grandmother of that filly. That's why I included this. This is the only history shot we have tonight. Tracy, I hope you enjoy this. This is Tracy standing there back in the day with TC Touch of Tardy. She was a hardship POA mare. She was a Tardy impressive daughter, and she's the, I believe, great grandmother on the bottom side of this filly. So generations of POAs are going back, and she's got a descendant winning in 2021. Here's your 2-year-old winner. Again, I believe this was a Futurity winner. I think she was as a baby, Slick Sire. So if that's right, that'd be two. Both of them were. This is the Respect the Rage. Candy Kemps does a good job from Michigan. This filly, you'll see some pictures later in the classes where she's going up for Grand and for Junior and for Grand. And she's such a smooth filly. The top line on this filly just kept grabbing my attention. And again, the judges were looking at that. Dutch Black Beauty by RY Major Equity, Terry said. So Terry's the breeder of that yearling filly we showed, and he just mentioned who the mother was. So yep, Dutch Black Beauty. She's doing a good job for him. Tracy said she was young and skinny 30 years ago. Weren't we all, Tracy? I don't know if I was skinny at birth, but... so here's the small mare. There was 4 small mares, and here's first and second. So I believe Dutch Mercy is the name of the mare that won. She's on the front there. Andrings from Minnesota. They're doing a great job. I believe that's Sophie showing. I might be wrong. But she won the Midwest too. I believe they placed the same way. And then the mare in the back is a really nice mare. Sometimes one judge didn't like her at this show. 2 had her up there and 1 had her last, and that made her second. But that's a Twisted Sister. Really good, I believe, a Texas bred mare. So I thought those were 2 nice small mares, so I grabbed that picture there. This is a JBJ's mare. I snapped this picture. I was sitting next to Jackie when I took this picture. Sophia, yeah, Sophie Andring. Here's my friend Tracy. They bought this mare. Now I'm going to plug the sale a little bit because we're getting close. I don't know when the sale deadline is. I should have asked Jess Drish. Maybe Tracy can chime in and say when it is. But this mare ran through the sale a few years ago. Danielle Kruger bought her not at the sale, but bought her from Ron and Nancy Meyer, pretty close from where she's based in Eota, Minnesota. They're in Albert Lee, Minnesota. Got her as a young filly and brought her home, trained her a little bit, put her in the sale. I believe she was the high seller that year. Tracy bought her for her niece and Katie's daughter, and she's been doing a good job on her. Well, then Aunt Tracy let her into I believe, the medium mares, and she won that class this year. And that was a pretty nice pin of mares also, so she looked nice out there. And Tracy got to show a halter horse. So. Best buy ever, yep. And it was, where was it, Tracy? It was at the National POA sale. This is Mesmerized. I'm sorry if I don't have the people's names here, but she won, I believe she won the youth mares, and she was second in the large mare class. She's a beautiful mare. She was bred by Melissa Slayton from Texas. Okay, here's the pin, and that's her again in the front there, the front right, because she was the reserve senior mare. That's Mesmerized. And then the mare next to her with Lindsay Zahm showing her, that's JBJ's Kid Dazzle, and she won grand champion for the 3rd time in a row, and that tied a record for mares. The HA's mare that won in 88, 89, and 90. This mare winning 3 in a row has tied that, except this mare's still going, so she has an opportunity to set a record, but she's tied a record right now. And you know, as a historian and unanimous winner, Tracy said as well, as a historian, everybody always says, and when you read books, like if you read Frank Holmes' books over the years or different legends books, and my book, Spots included, to be fair to everyone, we always say one of the best, or you know, something like that, one of the greatest ever. Well, for a pure halter mare, I would say that mare there, maybe she was more in her prime last year, but Lindsay had her looking great this year again as she won unanimously. And you can see in this picture, that's not even the best picture of her. I was focusing on the pin, not just on her. But in my opinion, she's the greatest halter mare in POA history. Now, I said halter mare, and that's what she is. She's a halter POA mare, and that's how she was bred. A quarter horse halter bred quarter mare and kiddo bounce. So of course she was bred by Jackie Guthrie. I think she's owned by Tammy Verzi, and that's Lindsay Schoner. So the back two there, we can't forget about them. That's your junior champions. So again, the TC filly, the yearling filly. Look how balanced she is for a yearling too. Very smooth filly. And then that 2-year-old, the top line I talked about before, Respect the Rage. So I thought that 2-year-old was going to give them a little run there because they were judging kind of balance and not so much bulky earlier in the stallions and in the geldings. They weren't picking some of the halter ones. They were picking more performance looking ones, but they did go with the halter mare here for Gran. So here's another picture. I couldn't get the JBJ's mare to get her ears up when I was taking pictures, but I did get, that's a nice head shots of the two front mares there, or the reserve junior and the reserve senior. So this is, this would have been, let's see, your yearling lunge line, I think. Yeah, your yearling lunge line winner. And I believe this is, I got it written down here. I'm drawing a blank now. I think it's Guitars and Cadillacs. I might be wrong, but anyway, Tracy might help me out here. Lunge line champion, yep. I know I got it written down here. I had so many written down for that I didn't get pictures on. Guitars and Cadillacs, yep, I'm right. So, of course, that's a Janelle Burton and Pat Burton product from Texas. They're on fire right now. Their two mares, Joyride and not Joyride. She's doing great too, but her mother, Abdul's Almond Joy and Petra, they don't get enough credit. Those two mares are gold mine for the Burtons down there in Texas. That's all they need is those two mares. I know they got some others, but those two mares just keep putting out champions for them. I think they had 6 POAs win at this show. So this is a Jan Rogers product here. This is a Gold Matrix offspring. One of the Carns. I don't know if that's Autumn. Hopefully Jan's watching tonight. But he won a class, so I snapped a picture because Gold Matrix is a Kiddo Tough grandson. Gold Matrix his mother is a full sister to Kiddo Bounce. So here's our future here, as we always say, and the future looks bright. I thought it was a strong lead line class and a lot of lead liners. Of course, there's a lot of classes now at the show, a lot more opportunities for kids and for adults. We have more lead-in game classes, and then we have more non-pro and 45 and over classes. So it's kind of balanced pretty good right now for little kids and adults to show. This is one of the classes, not classes, but in the middle of a class, they did a pretty cool thing here with a sock pony thing. And I thought it was a pretty fun deal. I enjoyed watching it. I hadn't quite seen anything like that. Again, I don't attend every day of the national show, but I've watched quite a few different days throughout the years, and I thought Cindy kept it pretty fun at this show. So here's Guaranteed Awesome by Guaranteed Investment. This is Tracy's mare I was talking about. And what's your niece's name, Tracy? What's Katie's daughter? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I'm waiting for Tracy to respond. There's usually a little lag, so. But anyway, that's her doing a nice pattern there. And then this is another Weedo. This is a daughter of Tracy's TC Impulsive Weedo, and they won a class at the show. I need Tracy on here live. I need to have her as a guest every week, but Maddie, that's your niece's name. I'm sorry, Katie and Maddie. Maddie was this girl back here. And then this one is She's a Hot Rockin' Weedo. Tracy just put it on too, but I just found it. And that's Laramie. Laramie Schultz won Western Pleasure 9 and under. I did find it in my notes finally. So I try to give kids as much credit as I can. Sometimes these shows on history and stuff focus on the breeders and the horses, like in halter and stuff. But we got to remember the kids take up most of the show, and it should. That's what POAs was started for. So this is a very special picture here. Quite a few board of directors got in this picture. Not all of them were in attendance, but this is honoring Pam Aid, Pam and her sister Kelly. They've been very good supporters of POAs, donors. They've donated major money to the POAC to help it keep going. And like the office, they helped with the national office building, and now they help with the show to help make it a financial success. And this was just the way of Tracy and the board, the rest of the board. That's Scott, the president of the board, presenting those flowers to Pam. And this was right after the 45 and over Western Pleasure class, which Pam won. And what I love about that is that's the Grand Champion Stallion this year that she won it on. So quite a few of the halter horses this year actually won other things too. So Tracy said 9 of us. That's pretty good. Yep. So, and again, that's her sister Kelly there. So I'm glad the board took time to stop the show and present that. I know Pam appreciated that. So, and it's well deserving. We need people, people that can. If you can help support the POAs, even if it's consigning a POA to the sale, that you might get 15 or 20,000 for it on whatever site, Facebook or Dream Horse or just your personal site. But you think you can take it to the show, or the sale, who knows what you could get for it. You might set a record. You're going to get a lot of thanks, and it's going to be a cool deal, and a percentage of it is going to go towards the club. And that's what's kept this breed afloat since 1957 when the first national sale happened. So here's a quick picture. My niece, my wife and I's niece, and her fiance, and that's her baby. He was a year old that day. Sorry, the ear wasn't up all the way, but that's Dr. Chocolate Seehafers. I snapped this picture because I was proud to see this. We were staying at the Hampton. My wife always likes to stay at Hamptons. And pretty much everywhere we go, that's where we stay. And they were one of the host hotels. And the first day I didn't see this, but the second day I seen it up on an easel, and I told Monica, I'm going to take a picture of this just to brag about it on the podcast, because that's good to see recognition, see that Cross Ponies and the National Congress. And that was in the lobby, I believe, all week at the Hampton there in Tulsa. So good exposure. So I told you this was going to be a quick show, but you might be wondering why there's a bunch of goodies here. But anyway, we had the Hall of Fame. It's always at the convention. It started in 1990, the POAC Hall of Fame. The first people were inducted in 1990, and they did it at the National Convention. And, it's a big honor to be put in the Hall of Fame. And this year, one POA was put in the Hall of Fame, and that's Fly the Gold. And, of course, Fly the Gold was bred by Jan and Dean Rogers. He was promoted by the DeBurs, and the DeBur boys, Denton, Drew, Dylan, I believe they all rode him. But he won quite a bit of stuff, and then he became a pretty good sire too. So, and he's a well-bred POA. And so he went into the Hall of Fame this year. And because of, I kind of cut short, but because the convention didn't happen due to COVID in February, it was decided to do it Saturday night, which it did run pretty late because the show was kind of a success. It was a longer show, a few more entries, few more classes on halter day than normal, so it didn't get going until after 10. But Barbara Klein was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and she's very deserving of that honor. Her and her husband Ray raised POAs for a long time in Colorado, the Klein's POAs. Klein's Bold Legend was a famous POA for many years in Wisconsin. He was a he was a household name at any POA show. But I know he was in Wisconsin. The Steens family had him for a long, long time, and he was a Supreme Champion, I believe. And then, of course, Plauditz Highbar started his life as a Kleins, but then he was changed. I believe Ruth Picoy changed his name, but he was a product of the Kleins program. And there's a lot more Kleins, too. And Barbara was a very good breeder. And her husband passed away in the 80s, but then she later came back and started raising POAs by herself and raised some more good ones. So, and she knew a lot about bloodlines and stuff and was always gracious to people. And again, so Barbara Klein from Colorado, congratulations getting in the Hall of Fame. And then I was put in the Hall of Fame this year, and basically because of, I guess, my historian work and stuff like that, I have raised some nice POAs. My family, it's kind of a conglomeration, you know, of my family, basically. You know, we were the people that raised Kiddo Tough. I always make the joke, it ain't really a joke, but I watched Kiddo Tough hit the ground the day he was born, and I held him in my arms when he died at 24 years old when he was put to rest. So we didn't own him the whole time. In fact, we didn't own him a lot in the middle of his life. The Caswells owned him for a while, and Jackie Guthrie and the Krugers had him, and then we bought him back from Gordon Kruger, my brother and I, when he was 16, and then we had him till he was 24, and he's buried here in Oklahoma. He traveled with me when I moved down in 2009. So I'm very thankful for that honor that I was put in the Hall of Fame, and my dad is still alive, so he was able to enjoy that. He can't travel anymore, but I called him, and he knew it was going to happen, everything. I want to thank Jan Rogers for nominating me and writing the write-up. So, and this is nice, whoever put this together, this little pamphlet's nice. And also the Family of the Year was presented that night, and that's the Wick, Andrews, and Shipman family. And there's a nice picture of that bunch here in this thing. So, and I want to mention the Hall of Fame committee. They don't get a lot of press, but Dave Spencer, Dave Morris, Jan Rogers, Denny Brown, Charlene Aston, Millard Fisher, Omer Kruger, Matt Kinchlow, Harry Chestnut, Diana Peaton, Jeanette Aarons, and Kay Schwink is your Hall of Fame committee. So, you know, they have a tough job every year. They have to grade the people and the horses that are nominated. Some years there's hardly any nominated, so it just depends. In some years there's a bunch of horses nominated or a bunch of people, and they don't all get in. There's quite a few people that are deserving to get in yet that haven't, and of course there's some horses too. Hopefully I have time to nominate some people. But if you know of anybody, it's usually like in October or November, the deadline. Go ahead and write it up. It's a good honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So these pictures here, we had a party. My wife likes to go big when she does things, so she reserved a room at a hotel, or not at a hotel, at a restaurant called The Vault. I'd never heard of it before, and she did some research. It used to be a bank in Tulsa, and it's a pretty cool restaurant, and quite a few people was able to attend. Unfortunately, you know, we had the party scheduled from 7 to 10, thinking that Halter would get over, you know, 4:35, but with the driving and the costume and everything and the show just going on a long time, it was Jackie Guthrie's idea to let's go ahead and go to the party and then try to come back for the award, which that's what I did. I walked into the arena as the announcer was reading my induction thing. So in fact, he was reading the write-up and he was told I wasn't there. So at the end he said, unfortunately can't be here tonight. And Scott's head swung around. And thank you to Scott Shingleton for giving me the award, the plaque. And Jan was there. I got some good hugs from Jan. And and Ashley was taking pictures right there, Mackenzie. But some of my really good friends, longtime POA friends, were able to attend, and some of my personal friends from Enid here and some family was able to attend the party. So we had about 30 some people. There was a monsoon that night too, so we almost lost it on the way there. I was riding with some friends. Monica went earlier with our niece Emily and her fiance David, and they helped set up. Of course, I stayed at the show because we didn't know if the presentation was going to happen or not. Well, then once we figured out it was going to be closer to 9, 10 o'clock, we went ahead and went and had the party. So, and I know some people RSVP'd that weren't able to attend the party because 2-year-old lunge line and stuff still was going on. That was taking place. Whoa Black Betty was winning 2-year-old lunge line while our party was going on. So, unfortunately, you know, timing sometimes is hard. But my wife made this cake. Of course, she is a cake decorator. I didn't even know this was a surprise. I knew the party was going to happen, but I didn't know that a friend of ours, Pepper's her name, she made the cross pony piece on her Cricut or whatever. And then my wife made the cake, and I hauled it in boxes not knowing, because we had so much goodies that people had ordered in the back of the Jeep. I didn't know this was boxed up. And Mike Behringer ordered a cake as a surprise for his wife because it was their wedding anniversary on Sunday. So he ordered a little single layer cake just for a surprise. And he almost blew it because he came up to me and I said, "Oh, we're talking about history stuff." And I think we still kept it a surprise for Kathy. But anyway, thanks to my wife for throwing that party and everybody that attended. We had people from all over the country at that party. So, and the food was pretty good. I teased Dean Damon. I said, we flew that beef in from Iowa. And he said, "Really?" And I said, "No, I'm just kidding. It's probably from Oklahoma." So he said, "It's grass-fed?" I said, "Yeah, it's probably grass-fed." So, but anyway, again, I want to thank everybody that attended that. It was a big honor. So, again, I wish I had more pictures of, I had a cool picture of the girl that won the costume class with the Dalmatians, Cruella DeVille, I believe. So, and I think she was, I think that's Brooklyn riding DK Dreamin' of Pizzazz. And I want to give a shout out to Lori Chrome. I don't know if she watches this show or not, but she's got a very successful breeding program in Minnesota. She's been breeding for a long time, the DK POAs. She breeds for some loud colored and some very good-minded POAs. In the age gilding class, the large gildings, there was second place was DK Dreamin' of Pizzazz, fourth place was DK Made for Romance, and sixth place was DK's Fancy Dream. So in that very tough class, 3 of your top 6 gildings were from her POA farm in Minnesota. So that's quite an honor there. Some of the other POAs that did pretty well at this show, Perpetually Tipped had a good show. He's bred by Doc Nemmers. Doc consigned a mare, a really nice looking mare bred to CHR's Tiger's Tough Eagle back in 2006 to a POA sale in Minnesota that my dad and I put on, and that foal was born a few days later. That's why he doesn't carry the Doc's name, but he's bred by Nemmers, and he's won a lot of national titles now for Doc, helping Doc climb up the rankings. He's in the top 10 now, and that's Perpetually Tipped. JBJ's Smooth Kid had a pretty good show. Kiddo Bounce, bred by Jackie Guthrie. Chocolatey Chassis had another good show. He's ringing up the wins for his breeder, Mary Jo McMahon, a Minnesota breeder. Of course, she's done it all with one mare, and her Abdul's grandson, daughter, Mischievous, and she breeds her. She used to breed her to First Impulse, and then she's bred her to Chocolatey. I think she's bred her to some quarter stallions too, but she's bred for a lot of great ones, all by one mare. So Tracy's adding here, we had over 50 in Hunter in Hand youth, and we had over 50 entries in Hunter in Hand. So again, that's another pretty new class. You know, I can remember when lunge line wasn't a thing in POAs, and then in hand trail, and now youth. And some people were coming on saying, "Well, what's this youth, you know, showing? Why is it all ages, and is it showmanship and stuff?" Well, at first when some of these classes happen, I was like, well, I don't know, but a lot of them are very successful, and it kind of adds to the success of the show. It gets kids to show different ages together, and so yeah, that was pretty good. Another Windy Smoking Black Cat won quite a few classes. Salty Spanish Girl won 4 classes in performance, or in games, actually, in Gymkhana. I don't know if you call it Gymkhana anymore, but in the game events she won 4. She's bred by Lynn Puffenbarger. Plauditz Poker Chip won 7 game classes, so rung up some classes there. So, yep, that was some of the big highlights. Let's see, what's some of the stuff I forgot to mention. One hot chip, won quite a few. I had some great pictures of third day, and it didn't, for some reason, they didn't come over. Again, third day is a Janelle Burton product, and a very good PO. I believe this was probably his 5th time at least that he won in halter. I know he's won the medium geldings 3 years in a row, and he won grand champion gelding before that, probably in like 16 or so, and he was the yearling gelding winner, I believe, when he was a yearling. So he's won at least 5 or 6 times. But McGuire Biggs showed him and did a great job. Of course, McGuire and her sister Spencer are very professional young ladies showing their POAs. They got a bright future ahead of them, carrying on the Spencer POA tradition there. So your versatility champion, I should mention that, was AAA Chicks Diggit, POA that's been around a while. Another POA that really drew attention, I really like this POA, is American Made, and Brady Chestnut showed American Made, a beautiful POA, won quite a few classes, and the sire is Machine Made, the famous quarter horse stallion, so it's good to see another quarter horse bloodline in there. So I promised you this would be a short show. It was a little over a half an hour. So I do want to plug the POA sale once again. I mean, if you got one at home that you've been trying to sell, don't be afraid if you want big money for it. I mean, if you got a baby or a yearling that might bring $500 or $1,000 or whatever, consign it to the sale. If you have a Supreme Champion or one of these horses I just mentioned and it needs a new home, try to bring it to the sale. It adds so much excitement for the breed, and sometimes we get coverage in other national magazines because of it. Sometimes TV crews will come to the sale. I know in Des Moines they did. They would come and cover the sale because it's been going on since 1957. So last year, due to COVID, it didn't happen, but that was a lot of things that didn't happen last year. So I still say it's continuing. Just like this show we covered tonight, that's been since 1959. So this breed started in 1954. We have some rich, great traditions in the POA breed, in the POA club as well, the POAC. So, and you could see that again on the kids' faces this year. A lot of great showers showing, and the kids and adults as well, the grandparents that didn't know that. I seen grandparents in the stands I had conversations with. They didn't even know the registered name of some of the ponies that were in the ring, but they knew it was Spotty or Smoochie or whoever, and their daughter, granddaughter, or great-granddaughter or grandson was riding it. So that's what it's all about. So Tracy says the sale will be online through an online sale company. So sponsors are paying for it. Yep, that's right. I seen that. Sponsors are paying for it. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. Next week's going to be actually an easier topic for me because it's going to be about Rourke's POA. So I might be a little nervous talking about some of the stuff, but we'll be talking about some of the bounce POAs and the tough dots. Of course, Kiddo Tough, and then some of the stuff we did later on. We actually raised POAs in 2 different locations. We started out in Kimball, Minnesota, and then later when I was an adult, we moved to a place in Dassel, Minnesota, just about 18 miles or so down the road, and that's where we raised a lot of them towards the end. So that'll be the topic next week, and then we have a lot of great breeding programs to talk about over the next couple months. So we're going to have the Jones family, Jan Jones Nolan, and the Caddos POAs, Art and Rocky Jones. That's going to be one of the topics, and then we'll have some other great programs too. We'll cover different areas of the country. So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks Tracy for basically being my co-host. I'll get her back on here one of these days. It was great to see people. Shout out to Chris England that I got to meet at the show. Terry Thorson, I got to meet him for the first time. Nikki Seehafer, I met her for the first time at the show. Of course, Bob Roseland, I've known him for years, but I always enjoy sitting by him halter day. Dave Morris wasn't able to make the show this year, but I used to always eat lunch with him every show, so I missed Dave this year, but I got to see quite a few people. I think I met 10 people that I knew but didn't know, if you know what I mean. Well, I knew who they were, and I've talked to them on Instant Messenger and Facebook, but I'd never met them face to face, so that was pretty cool. So, all right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this quick version of my POA podcast, Black Hand and Beyond. I'll see everybody here next Tuesday around 6:30 when we talk about Rourke's POAs, episode 19. Have a good week, everyone.